Hello and welcome this April 16th, 2022. It is a Saturday, and once again, welcome to another episode of Misfits of the Galaxy, my vlog series in which I ramble seemingly endlessly about various things that I hope to include in a upcoming campaign I would like to run for my fellow podcast members of the Isle of Misfit Rules. If you haven't heard about our podcast before, it takes place in a world of Vertes created by our wonderful DM Mike, where our characters are. I guess the best description is a sword and sorcery suicide squad going about trying to save the world from impending destruction. If that sounds interesting to you or your cup of tea, I'll put the links down below for you to listen to our podcast. Additionally, we've started live streaming the on Twitch our episodes for the recent season 2. So that will be taking place every Tuesday normally between 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if you have the opportunity to check us out, I'll put the link down below. You can see this ugly mug in real time as it reacts to what's transpiring around it, as well as that of my fellow players. We'd love to have you. Anyways, for those who have been listening up to this point, this is episode 16. We're well into the middle of April now. I'm really excited about this episode because I've managed to this started as a sort of New Year's resolution for me, and the fact that it's still happening this far in is shows a bit of dedication on my part that I can give myself a pat on the back about, I suppose. That's me kind of like congratulating myself far too soon because I'm hoping to get through the entire year with this, although there may be a few episodes here and there that I'll have to record ahead of time because there will be some weekends that I will be unavailable. Um, with that, let's kind of jump right in. So this week, I was trying to figure out what to discuss. I was thinking of touching on the Dragonborn and where they come from and what have you, but I'm still working on the content on that. So I'm going to put that on the back burner at least until next week. Additionally, we've gone over graphs and a few other odds and ends here and there. Seems that we're doing a lot of I'm doing a lot of rules mechanics videos for this. Unfortunately, I don't see that ending very shortly. Partially because taking something like D&D, which is like a high fantasy setting that does what it does really, really well, and trying to incorporate the space opera and sci-fi elements to it, and trying to make it your own. It does prove to be difficult in some respects and a little bit daunting, but I still feel like I'm up to the challenge. So let's look at what I'm talking about this week. So I don't know if anyone's been paying attention, but at this particular point, Matt Colville, no, not Matt Mercer, but Matt Colville has announced a new Kickstarter that he is rather proud about. Um, Let me just see if I can get the name of it off the top. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, unfortunately. But the premise of it is it's a monster manual. It's a monster manual called Flea Mortals from his MCDM publishing house. So the idea behind it is that it's got a whole bunch of different monsters in it. He's trying to make unique monsters as well as introducing interesting mechanics and what have you behind the monsters, trying to streamline the process for DMing. I don't know about you, but as for me, anything that streamlines the process behind the screen for the DM is always good in my opinion. And the one that he's put a bit of the like a sort of, I guess you call it a example package together for free as a PDF that he's I'll put the link to that down below. for those who are interested in taking a look at it. And one of the things I really liked in it was he's incorporating the Minion Rules from 4th edition D&D. Now, I know 4th edition D&D is a controversial subject for a lot of people. As for myself, I had the opportunity to play it, and shortly after starting to playing 4th edition, I was one of those people that jumped into Pathfinder. It's not that it wasn't necessarily that it wasn't a enjoyable experience. It's just it wasn't for me. It was more of a board game element than like it was more board games where you had to play with miniatures and terrain and boards and all that, rather than the traditional D&D where you could use theater of the mind. And I think Wizards of the Coast realized that very quickly uh, when when they started having some serious competition from other role playing games out there. But anyways, now that we're in 5th edition, uh, there there were some mechanics that from 4th edition that I really kind of wish they had incorporated into 5th edition, and Minions was one of them. Well, I don't need to worry about that anymore because, like I said, Matt Colville's come up with with this, with his Kickstarter, and in the free PDF download for it that everyone can get access to, he's got mechanics on how to play minions, and I really, really like them. Uh, they have like a mechanic, like their low hit point. You can throw a lot of them out on the field, and there's even an overkill mechanic where if you kill off one of them and the damage carries over to another minion that's nearby. I don't know about most people, but I've always liked the idea of like the warrior or barbarian like swinging their sword or axe as they through the endless horde of goblins or kobolds or something like that. And when you only have 3 attacks a turn, you really can't get that done. Even if you grab like the 2-weapon fighting and you action surge and the whole 9 yards, it just doesn't have that feel to it. Like the entire idea, like a lot of people are coming into the game from like playing video games or board games or whatever. If they've played games like Diablo or something like that, they're used to being like this sheer number of mobs coming at them and just like wiping hundreds of them from the board or in the game in a matter of like a few like 30 seconds or less, right? And you can't have that in well, up to this point you couldn't really have that in D&D. If I wanted to do like a battlefield where I want the players to be like the grandiose heroes, like the heroes of like a Helm's Deep sort of situation, you can do those really cool little action scenes here and there, but what if one of the characters just wants to charge into the orcs and just like lay waste to large numbers of them all at once? That the, unless you're a wizard hurling fireballs or electrical or frozen death from the skies, the other character classes, like from what I've at least looked at and played, cannot really do that. A rogue, for example, wouldn't necessarily be able to pull that off. They could do a massive amount of damage to a single target, but like they could sneak behind enemy lines, stab their warlord or their chieftain or something like that. But they wouldn't be able to like make their way through the enemy lines, slicing one down here, slicing another one down here, and just keep on moving back and forth, which also makes it impossible for a lot of the stuff that people really enjoy in the D&D novels and what have you to achieve that sort of thing. Like a good example is R.A. Salvatore Stritz-Stewart, and like when he fights the orcs or he fights the barbarians of the elk tribe or whatever. I think that's in the Crystal Shard, if I recall correctly. He's laying like he's going through swaths of them, like just like he's just charging in there, killing dozens of them without even breaking a sweat. And it's not until he gets to like a leader like figure that he actually gives any pause, and the fight actually turns into something of a more serious nature. I want my players to be able to do that. I want if this was Isle of Misfit Rolls, uh, that campaign and Tavrook wanted to go, like charge in there into a swath of like villainous elves or whatever, or orcs or goblins, whatever Mike wants to throw at it. I want to see the scene where he like annihilates a dozen of them in a single round, swinging his halberd around. It ignited in flames from his. That's a bit of a spoiler, but you get my idea. It's a cool vision to have in your head, and the rule of cool for D&D is have fun, enjoy yourself, make sure it looks awesome, right? And so with that in mind, like I said, I'm going to be implementing the Minion Rules as well as the Overkill rules in this upcoming, I guess, Misfits of the Galaxy campaign, where minions will probably be used for a lot of things that are considerably lower CR than the players. I'm thinking things that are maybe CR1, CR2, when the characters are like level 4 or 5, thereabouts. And maybe they get the CRs continually climb up respectively, so along with levels. Maybe every 4 levels have a additional CR go up on that. So like if they, heaven forbid, they ever hit level 20, you're looking at anything CR5 or lower could be construed as with minion stats, right? I think that's I need to sort of figure that out a little bit more, but I think that's a good initial idea conceptually. Because there's no sense in having characters get waylaid by things that are not even supposed to be obstacles at that point for them. It actually makes the game a little bit dull, and at higher levels it makes it so that the DM ends up having to focus on like having 1 or 2 monsters on the board, and that's it, because they have such a plethora of powers and abilities and hit points and all that. High level play seldom deals with like the PCs fighting an army against an army, and I think that would be a really fun thing to do. Definitely changes that up a bit. And with the overkill rules, when you kill one minion, you can just stack the remaining damage on another, and so forth and so forth, and until you run out of damage that you've inflicted. It makes it so that even a fighter is capable of downing multiple targets with a single hit. Something that, at least from my observation, current 5e is lacking. If somebody wants to prove me wrong, please. I'd love to be wrong on this sort of stuff. Anyways, so I've been rambling about minions a little. Let's just dive in a little to what they can and cannot do. So Matt Colville's made them really simple to run. Their rules are really uncomplicated. They don't have any like special abilities or attacks or anything like that. They don't have multi-attack. They don't they don't take bonus actions or reactions or anything like that. That are So their turns aren't that incredibly long. They're great to have like a large group of minions and like a leader with them. Obviously, they die really quickly. They don't even roll for damage. They have a pre-assigned amount of damage that they do based off of the CR of the creature. And that way you don't even need to worry about that. All you're doing is rolling to hit these things. You get there, and once you get them in the initiative tracker, only thing you're doing is rolling a hit unless somebody throws a spell at them, in which case, if there's a saving throw associated with it, I believe they still make saves. From the looks of it, yeah, they still do make saving throws. But yeah, and they all act in tandem with one another, so you're not rolling individual initiatives for each minion. It's minions all go on the same point of the initiative tracker, which is also pretty handy. As I said, like, really, when it comes down to it, if you're interested in that sort of stuff, I'll put a link to what he's put together down below. I know that I want to incorporate it into Misfits of the Galaxy. I want to have that moment where the characters are having a running battle, like a running gunfight with like a primitive tribe on a backwater world, having stolen the sacred artifact of the tribe, which turns out to be something like a part of a dark matter engine that they need to repair their ship with. And so you have this entire angry tribe chasing after them, throwing spears and shooting blow darts at them, a la Indiana Jones. And the characters running and like fire, shooting back at them desperately as they're running across the landscape, trying to make their way back to their ship. I want to have scenes like that, or I want to have the scenes where like you have the Magitech armored soldiers dropping from drop pods high above in the atmosphere, coming down through orbit like burning comets, crashing into the ground and laying waste to large number of enemy troops, whether they be some sort of like xeno bug race, or whether they just simply are some other more humanoid race that is turned against whatever forces these Magitech armored soldiers are from. But anyways, I digress. It's like I'm rambling a little. I'm sorry. I'm a bit stuffed up today. I was actually partially considering not running or not doing this Misfits of the Galaxy episode, instead focusing on rest. But instead, I decided to soldier through and do this because honestly, I'm worried that if I ever stop, if I ever give that like 1 week off sort of thing, I'm going to run into a dilemma where it's going to become 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off, and then it's all going to fall apart. Anyways, those are my disappointments. Those are my worries. You don't need to worry about those. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if until next week, may all your D20s roll a critical. Take care.